But with that, we'll move into the 11 through 20, which I think is more of the juicy part of the point guard video, because the 21 through 30 is a little bit tame. I don't think anybody had too like big qualms with anybody in there, like too massive of problems.
There might be some controversy here. Is that what you're telling me to
controversy? Controversy. I think there might be here. So here we go. We're going with number 20 from their Chicago Bulls, Josh Giddey. We're going with number 19 from the Orlando Magic, Jalen Suggs. Okay. 18 from the Houston Rockets, Fred VanVleet. 17 from the Cavs, Darius Garland. 16 from the Pistons, Cade Cunningham. 15 from the Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo Ball. 14 from the New Orleans Pelicans, DeJounte Murray. 13 from the Clippers, James Harden. And then there was a tiebreaker at 11. The Discord solved it. So at number 12 from the Denver Nuggets is Jamal Murray. And at 11, who's going to miss out on the top 10 by one spot? It's the Atlanta Hawks, Trae Young.
What?
So we're gonna start at the top of the list. And Ricky, I'm gonna
should have missed out by more. Should have missed out by more.
I'm gonna go straight to you because Ricky had Trae Young at 17 on this list. Can I just hold on? Yeah. Let me give context for reference. I had him at 10, and Dave had him at 11. So we ended up exactly where on Dave's list. Ricky was the lowest. Ricky, give me your thoughts.
It's simple. The Hawks got rid of the wrong guard. They're better with DeJounte Murray than they will ever be with Trae Young, and this is a heel turn that like no other. Because Ricky was the Trae Young defender.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm the Trae Young hater. Not hater,
I argued with Ricky about Trae Young for so long.
They will never win with Trae Young. They will never win with Trae Young. He's not what I thought he was going to be in the league. He's a good guard, yes, but like yet again, looking at one of the heavy things that I waited on is, who would I rather have as my guard? And I'll be completely honest, bringing DeJounte Murray into this, because it was either him or Young. He's on, 14? I had him in the top 10. This is one of those guys, Dave, that you're like, oh, well, like, I didn't have him. I had him higher. Well, I had him in the top 10 because I would value him way more. And Oscar getting in the chat, patron watching in.
And I would just like to say that Dave had DeJounte Murray at 16. I had him at 15.
Oscar says, bro, what did I arrive to? The fast break,
Oscar,
brother. The
you
fast break.
You joined at actually you joined at actually the exact right time, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Murray over Trae. Murray over Trae. Murray over Trae.
I'm going to take this one.
Oscar
real quick,
agrees.
Dave. Yeah. By far, I would take Trae Young. Let me just say that.
No.
DeJounte Murray is a very good player, very good point guard. Honestly, though, I don't even know if I describe him as a point guard anymore. Because, again, him and CJ is going to be interesting. Because I think CJ will be more of the initiator like he has been in previous years. They've talked about Zion being in New Orleans this season. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. Didn't they have BI do it for a little bit last year, too? Like, they've messed with – Willie Green's messed with everything.
Positionless basketball, baby.
Yeah, positionless basketball is great. But DeJounte Murray – my biggest problem with DeJounte Murray is his defense on ball has fallen off a cliff the last 18 months to 2 years.
Yeah, that man rode on reputation for a year and a half.
Yeah, it is. You'll hear me talk about it later with one of my players that's recently signed with my team. But his best attribute is reading passing lanes, off-ball defense. It's not on-ball defense. We saw that in Atlanta. The Trae Young and DeJounte Murray thing did not work because DeJounte Murray was not a good enough defender to guard number one options next to Trae Young. It wasn't because the offense was bad. DeJounte Murray was hitting game winners left and right in the middle of the season. All right, that was not the problem. The problem was defensively on the ball, DeJounte Murray was not good enough. Dave, you have something to say?
Those game winners, those didn't happen when Trae Young was there, did they?
No, I don't think they did.
Oh, weird coincidence. It would help Ricky's case, right?
It would help Ricky's case, but I'm saying, wouldn't it also help my case? Would I also help my case that Trae Young brought this team to the Eastern Conference Finals just 3 years ago?
That's true.
Instead of hitting game winners in the regular season. I'm not trying to hate on DeJounte Murray, all right? I still had him in my top 15. I still had him in this list. He went one spot above where I had him. All right, so I don't really have a big problem with where he is. But Ricky's saying DeJounte Murray over Trae Young?
Yeah. Oscar, the Hawks fan, agrees with me. Just saying. By the way, I just thought about this. I sent the link to you guys so you guys can see the chat too. Because I was like, for a second, I was like, wait, I think I'm the only one who can.
Somebody monitor it because I can't take a look at it now, so I'll pull it up on my phone after this. But DeJounte Murray, I still think is a very good point guard. But Trae Young, the ability to create a system around Trae Young where he can have you as a top 12, top 10 offense every single year by himself is really what separates him from me. His ability to play make, his ability to score. Defensively, he's actually gotten better. That narrative where he was a bottom
It
5
got
defender in the league,
better. It's
it
still
doesn't
the arm's
exist.
still chopped off, but it got
doesn't exist.
better.
But it doesn't exist anymore that he's a bottom 5 defender in the league because
Got my legs and my arms chopped off, but I got better.
Dave, your thoughts on DeJounte?
Well, I got to call out chat now that we have it. Oscar says, actually, which I love that opening. I love that disrespect instantly. Actually, get the little glasses push. He was one of the worst clutch time players, and Trey was infinitely more efficient than Murray in clutch time.
Unless it was against the Celtics. DeJounte Murray came out against the Celtics.
There were some games where shots were made. That's all we can tell you. I don't have the stats in front of me right now to confirm or deny. So assuming you're right, numbers do lie. Maybe I don't know, Jake.
The numbers do lie. Numbers always lie. Don't you? You hear me say that all the time.
I know.
Yeah, you hear me say that all the time. The numbers lie. So the DeJounte and Trae Young thing. Trae Young ended up 4 spots higher, so I'm not going to complain about it.
Personally, though. Okay.
Yeah, you go.
Last thoughts on Trae Young. It's just like you said, you left off with Trae Young is that heliocentric offense that, we talk about with other top tier players like LeBron, like Luka, guys who you build the system around and then, in theory, win games. The problem with Atlanta is they've failed to build a system around him. They've swung and struck out on multiple players over time now to get building blocks around Trae Young. And it used to be like, oh, no worry, he's still young. We still have time. And they took the biggest swing with DeJounte Murray. That failed. And we're back to the Trae Young show again this year. We expect, Jalen Johnson's going to step up now to be his number 2.
Because we all know how Dave loves Jalen Johnson.
Okay, I said one thing about Jalen Johnson being a ball handler in the pick and roll, and I was fucking right, and you guys all know it, but you want to take it out of context.
Flashback to 2021 in the NBA draft room or whatever. What did we call it back then? It wasn't the draft room.
I was right.
It was whatever
What year was this?
2020, 2021 when I was doing draft stuff with Dave. Yeah. I think it was the draft room. I think it probably still was.
Yeah. The draft room officially started. The birthday of the draft room was the day after DJ Moore got traded to the Bears.
Oh, so it's whatever we called it back then. Yep. Dave and I probably spent hours debating Jalen Johnson.
It was just random draft talk.
literal hours debating Jalen Johnson, and who I had top 10 on my board. I'll take that victory lap real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. But point being, we're hoping Trae Young can, raise back up that level, the baseline for the Atlanta Hawks going forward. I don't know necessarily that I would think DeJounte Murray is a better point guard than him, because I do think we've seen that success on Trae Young's back, basically. Like Jake said, he has done it before with his team. And now I understand health of the team matters to some degree, but it didn't work together. We know that. So I want to go back and I want to lean back on, Trae Young's still offensively so insanely gifted. He's such a fantastic passer. He makes his teammates have easier looks, better shots, shoot higher percentages off the catch. Like, all the stuff points to Trae Young's still good, but the system around him, you just don't have the personnel to make it perfect.
Yeah, John Collins fell off a cliff. Sadiq Bey fell off a cliff. DeAndre Hunter fell off a cliff. Clint Capella isn't what he used to be. I'm interested to see. Spoiler alert: we have Bogey starting at the 2 in the Hawks lineup. I think by the end of the year, if Dyson Daniels can become a little bit more consistent, he's more ideal to put next to Trae Young than Bogey is, simply because his defense is.
And Bogey off the bench is fantastic.
Exactly. So I think probably
talk about clutch shooter. We want to talk clutch shooting. We got Bogey.
Yeah. The Hawks hurt me back in 2021, so I don't want to talk about that. But
run on the Kings.
Yeah,
insane.
But yeah, Trae Young is a much superior player to me. I think there's a gap in my list. I think it was after 11-12. I think there's a little drop. Somebody else that I wanted to talk about that ended up at 18-19 on our combined list. Fred VanVleet over Jalen Suggs. Interesting to me. They were in the same area for me, but I had Suggs higher. I think both of you had VanVleet higher.
I did, yeah. I had him 2 spots above.
Yeah, I am at 16.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so Dave, you want to give some thoughts on Fred VanVleet versus Jalen Suggs, or just Fred VanVleet in general?
Yeah, Fred VanVleet got to come in, play a mentor role for the Rockets team last year, and him in coordination with a coach who, pretty good at his job, I would say, Ime Udoka, took this team back to like being a legitimate team pushing for the playoffs rather than the clown show that they had been for the 2 years prior, living in basketball terrorism, watching players get benched for no reason so we can watch Moses Brown get starts over Alperen Şengün, so we can watch guys who just absolutely don't have talent on the court because our coach doesn't know what he's doing. What's that?
I was gonna say Steven Silas, big fan, Dave.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, big
some would
guy.
say the biggest fan of the basketball terrorist. I can't tell you how deeply I loathe that man. So yeah, I think Fred VanVleet should get some credit for what the Rockets have done, have transformed their identity as a team. Not only he, but also Dylan Brooks on the court, and then Uncle Jeff as a bench coach, basically, who's getting way too many minutes still. Like, just them as an organization, they've been doing the right things for the young team. I think Fred VanVleet's stats have backed up pretty much. He's still a very good contributor at the point guard position, and he can still run the offense really well. His shooting numbers have never been elite. He's never been like a knockdown guy from the outside or anything, but he is a gritty guard who is out there giving 110% effort all the time. Yeah. Meanwhile, Jalen Suggs, up and coming, one of the top defenders in the league, yes. But as a point guard, he is growing. He has some baseline skills as a facilitator. But again, there's a reason they ran everything through Paolo last year. Paolo and Franz were the primary ball handlers. We saw later in the year more of Jalen Suggs gain that role as, sadly, Markelle Fultz never was able to stay healthy. And Joe Ingles at the point guard was hilarious to watch them, off the bench.
Dude, that was so bad.
It was more do or die, like, for Jalen Suggs. Just, you have to do this for us kind of moments. He had flashes. He had flashes of, like, excellent shooting, excellent point guard play. Like, it all came together with his defense at the same time at the end of the season. But I don't know if I saw enough there that I would say, like, hey, I've got several years of Fred VanVleet absolutely killing it. He's got that playoff run magic. He's got continued success over time. Suggs, I feel like we got flash in the pan. I'm ready to move him up if he can show me more consistency as a passer and as a facilitator.
Yeah, I'd agree. Now, what I just noticed on our lists. All right, this is good. This is like the main event. This is like the big thing. Ricky, we're gonna do this: James Harden versus Jamal Murray. Dave, you had James Harden over Jamal Murray. I had James Harden over Jamal Murray. Ricky, you had Jamal Murray at 6.
Yep.
You tell me what your thoughts of Jamal Murray. You're much higher than Dave and I both.
So if you're new to the fast break, James Harden is trash. He's never going to win a championship. He has some flashy moments, he can play some good games here and there, but like I just think like when you guys said, I heard from you, Jake, wow, you looked at my range and went, wow, you have Jamal Murray. I'm like, wait, a guy who can shoot I know that he only played like 50 some games last year, 2 years off of ACL injury, but like can shoot threes, score points, is pretty clutch in games. Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want that on my team. We're just gonna push that to the side because he's got a guy like Jokic on his team. That's all we're going to do.
Still exist because the last 2 times we've seen Jamal Murray, he has been
still believe. Still believe in the arrow. The arrow is true. It is always true. It is always straight and true. The arrow doesn't bend.
Trash. Would be.
Did you say in the Olympics?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be the last time we saw Jamal Murray.
We're not talking about Olympic basketball here, Dave. It's completely different.
Now let's go back to the end of the year for the Nuggets, where he no-showed the majority of playoff series.
So we're gonna microcosm one bad playoff. Can't come back from that. You're written off forever.
The season was a down year, also.
Yeah. So not everyone has a down year.
Down year, down moments, and down Olympics.
Talent, Dave. Just because everyone has a down year. He's got the talent.
Come back.
We know it's there. Like just one bad year.
Just like we know Ben Simmons is an all defensive
just
NBA
like we
player.
know Kobe White had one great year, so he's going to be a Hall of Famer now. Is that what we're saying? Come on. One bad year and we're going to rag on the dude? Come on. Now, 2 bad years, that's a different story. It's becoming a trend.
I would say
now it's one bad year. Flash in the pan.
I would say,
that's where it's going to be, and it's going to be he's coming back.
If you're in the Discord, I'm a big Jamal Murray fan. Love Jamal Murray. He got his big contract. Hilarious that Retro and I were talking the night before about what the Nuggets were going to do, and then the next day they signed Jamal Murray to the giant deal. Yeah. I just had a little bit of an issue last year. So the previous year, I think people underrate the previous year actually, because in their finals run, Jokic gets all the love, rightfully so. He was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal Murray was averaging something like close to 30 points a game in the Western Conference Finals on 50, 40, 90. And then he also showed up in the finals and played well. This year, in a bad postseason, he still had 2-game winners against the Lakers in the playoffs. So, but my main problem with him is his mobility on defense and his mobility in general looked, hindered last year. And throughout the entire season, he did not. And the thing, I will reference this a couple times when we're talking about Nuggets players. It rubbed me the wrong way that when they lost, they said, yeah, we were tired. I'm sorry. The Warriors went to the finals for 5 straight seasons, playing 100-plus games. LeBron James went to the finals 8 straight times. You don't get to do that. You're tired after you win one title.
Jake, I'm going to throw this on you, and this is me asking you this because you're experienced. You're a coach yourself. Don't you throw that on the coach a lot? Like most of that is on the coach to even get that excuse in their head.
It's on the coach and the best player on the team, who's the leader.
Who's Jokic?
Yeah,
I would say Mike Malone might be the only coach in the league who hates young players as much or close to as much as Tom Thibodeau. And that would explain their tiredness.
You meant Doc Rivers, but yeah.
And Tom Thibodeau.
Oh man, that is a trifecta of hatred.
Is that the triangle offense right there?
That's tough. That's tough.
Run this up. Yeah, I
names.
think. But I'm gonna shift it to a little bit because I don't really want to hate on Jamal Murray too much. I think. Listen, I had him right around where he finished. I think I had him like 14 or something like that. I think he could jump up the rankings, like Ricky's saying, if he has a good year. Yeah. I kind of move towards the mean with him. I still think he's a very good player, but obviously a lot of his offense, even last year, he struggled to create his own looks for the majority of the year. And when you play with Jokic, you're going to get open looks. That's just what happens, all right? That's why it's going to be interesting to see KCP now moved back to the Magic, right? Where he's not going to have as many open looks as he did with the Nuggets. Still a good player, but is his production going to be as high as it was in Denver? That'll be interesting.
Meanwhile, Christian Braun has to step in next to...
we'll talk about Christian Braun in the next ranking video. Yep. But somebody I want to talk about with James Harden. I'm gonna take the lead on this one, just as
shocker.
You would know him the best.
The turbulent relationship that I had with James Harden as a player, absolutely loved him. I think I will stand on this. I think he is the 3rd best shooting guard of all time, even without a ring, and especially because his time in Houston is remarkable. His time in Brooklyn is severely underrated because of his hamstring injury towards the end. He was phenomenal when KD and Kyrie went down. In Philly, he was good. His playoff when Embiid was out against Boston in Game 1, then another game in Game 4, played amazingly. Last year, when Kawhi went down in the playoffs, Paul George was in the playoffs. James Harden was there. Every single game that they played against Dallas, James Harden was there, producing, creating for others, playing better defense than most people give him credit for. James Harden is still a very, 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 very good point guard in the league. And he still can carry an offense to a top 10 offense. Now, it'll be interesting to see with the Clippers this year. They kind of went more for athleticism than they did with the typical, you're going to stand like his old Ryan Andersons, his Trevor Arizas, those kind of players, right? They went more, they signed DJJ. That'll be interesting to watch with Harden. It'll be interesting to see how the pieces fall out. But James Harden, year in and year out, whether people want him to be washed, whatever it is, they're used to what he did in Houston. He can't do that for every year, right? That's literally not humanly possible to do every single year. But he still is creating at probably a top 3 to top 4 playmaking role in the league. And his scoring in the Dallas series was phenomenal. So I know Dave is also a Harden lover. So this podcast all year, you hear the debate between. But Dave, what are your thoughts on if you want to say Harden, Murray, whatever you?
I mean, I definitely lean Harden based off his body of work. And like you said, Murray, it's more so like we'll see if he's 100% healthy when he comes back this season, what he looks like then, because different year, different expectations. But he ended on a down note. That's where I kind of left him. Harden though is, I mean, he puts himself into a different category because he has every trick in the book. He's got rules basically that had to be created because of how badly he was abusing the existing refs in the game. I mean, the amount of flopping, the amount of fouls called. Even today, someone posted the Michael Carter-Williams clip of him climbing on his back to get a foul called on Michael Carter-Williams. It was just like, if there's a will, there's a way, and that is James Harden's like attitude towards everything. I think that the athleticism and like stability, honestly, the Clippers are trying to build around him is probably better. You got that Nico Batum connection back going for him, so I'm sure he'll find him in the corner. And for inbound passes, you got the guy.
You had to bring that one up, didn't you?
I did. Boom, boom, Batum. Suck it.
Yeah.
I think that Harden's game though has evolved with age, like you said. He's not the guy from Houston anymore. He's not the guy from the Nets even. He's doing a different thing, and I think that like just scoring wise, he's so smart, and pace is incredibly smart. Like he does not run himself into the ground. Like Russell Westbrook has one speed, we all know it, and it's to the detriment of his team sometimes. I think James Harden does a great job of controlling the pace of play for his team and making sure to take advantage when he can, and he won't be afraid to pull up from 40 feet. And that's still a good shot for him when he has to. So it's just like incredibly smart, crafty, and does all the things. Still, I mean, I think for him, it's just like, how does he manage his own health and playing time? Because you see the James Harden hustle games, and then you see James Harden just absolutely on cruise control.
Yeah,
so,
you see them. Yeah.
When you need him, he'll be there is the hope.
That's what I mean. There's a myth, right? And I know Ricky loves this myth. So I know he loves this myth that James Harden is not a playoff performer, that he can't win the playoffs.
No, he just can't win a championship.
But most of the time, the Harden doesn't win the playoffs. It's not his fault. And there's context to everything, all right? And I just think, well, no.
Do I need to pull out the cap shield because there's a lot of deflection?
No, you don't. No, you don't. But I will blame, and I'm not even going to blame. I won't even blame Paul George. Again, the Clippers' failure last year was Kawhi Leonard can't stay healthy. If Kawhi Leonard is healthy, they probably beat the Mavericks, and then you never know what happens in that series.
I'm going to say this as they're watching this. Wait till next week. It's going to be great.
Oh yeah, wait till next week.
It's going to be great.
But somebody I will default on this one, whichever one of you wants to take it. Number 20 is Chicago Bulls, Josh Giddey. I know I'd be remiss if I skipped over the Chicago Bulls. So I had him lower on my list than this. I had him in the last section, so I'll let you guys.
Where did I have him?
Oh, no. Yeah, I had him at 21.
I had him at 19.
Yeah, so he went higher because of other people being lower, basically. But either one of you want to give thoughts to Josh Giddey? You're the two resident Bulls fans here. So
Ricky, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know what to expect from Josh Giddey, and only because like I know what he brings to the team, Dave, but the Thunder were such a better team that it's like, what is he walking into, and will we make him worse?
That's actually a valid point. Like, as an organization goes, you are downgrading severely. But I think that the hopeful thing here for Josh Giddey is if we're actually going to trust him to be our starting point guard, if we're going to trust him to have the ball in his hands, that is where he's best. We talk about guys being used in the right systems, and he was an odd fit in OKC. Like, that was purely like, hey, we've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and we're best when the ball's in his hands by a lot. So you're going to have to learn to play off ball real quick.
Yeah.
Or else. And guess what? He didn't. He got better at it. His catch and shoot game got better. Like, he had progress across the board. But teams still didn't see him as a threat at three-point line. They weren't going to cover. They were able to defensively just abuse that. And I think that his offensive skill set is so built around ball in hand, attacking, go downhill, create for others, swing passes. Like, it's all creativity when the ball's in his hands. And I have that fear that the Bulls are in such a murky situation when it comes to our starting rotation.
We have three guys who need the ball in their hands,
with the 17
Dave.
guards that we have on our team.
Yeah.
That if given the opportunity to be a point guard, he should succeed at it, though. Like, that's the thing. When he got to start without Shai, he looked good. He was able to, average really good splits. And assuming he continues to improve his three-point shot, which is a hell of an assumption, I shouldn't make it, but I'm gonna, because I'm a Bulls fan and it's the preseason. I think that realistically, he could come into this team and put up something like 14, 5, and 6 or something like that. Like, he should have a decent stat line with contributions across the board. He will be the stat stuffer if we make some moves to dump some talent, like Zach LaVine or Nikola Vucevic, or anyone else on that roster who has to get moved. Like, there's the opportunity for him to have, the triple-double nights, because we just don't have enough, a lot of things. I'm just going to, a lot.
Enough good players.
The Bulls therapy session starts later on in the year. Let's go with that.
I'm going to say that I'm going to, Jake, take over for one question for the Only the Bulls podcast. But I will answer it first. He should be the one with the ball in his hands. And this is why. One, Levine, get out of here. I don't want you anymore. So I'm not going to waste my time having you screw up our chemistry.
But he said he'll play nice.
Whatever. Get out of here. Kobe White, I'm sorry. To me, you're a shooting guard, not the point guard. The point guard gets the ball in his hands. Here's the main reason, though. And maybe I'm looking into this from too stat-wise and not flow-wise. But this team was pretty damn good when Lonzo was healthy. And Lonzo was only averaging about 5 assists a game for us, Dave. I know last year was a little bit off for the Gidster, but his first 2 years, he was averaging 6 assists a game. If Giddey can be anything what Lonzo was with this ball movement, then yes, we should have the ball in his hands. Who would you put the ball in your hands? I know they're different.
And we will probably have them both on the court at some point, assuming
which may be the better option. It may be better to have them. But if you had to pick Levine, Kobe, Giddey, who's getting the ball in their hands the majority of the time?
I don't want to have this conversation.
Just an answer. That's all I'm looking for. I'm saying
Let's
Giddey.
just say Josh Giddey. Let's just say Josh Giddey.
That's just a disgusting therapy session. You guys need to fight out.
That's a preview.
Well, that's a preview of the show that's coming back soon.
I can't wait till that show overflows into the fast break, and I have to like check, shut up, just relax. Let me just say on your Lonzo Giddey point, completely different players who kind of the same end product. Lonzo, much more athletic, elite defensively. Fantastic three-point shooter, both off the dribble and catch and shoot. When he was with the Bulls, he struggled early in his career. And Lonzo is more of a, I'm gonna drive and kick to you. Giddey is more of a guy, I'm gonna get in this set and then I'll find you on the back door. That's more like how I would describe Giddey. I like we previewed in the other.
Who Giddey would you give the ball to as the outsider?
I would give the ball to Kobe White because I think he is by far your best player.
Right.
Now, would I say that I think Kobe White should be I think Kobe White should be your initiator all the time? No, I don't think that. I think when I say putting the ball in their hands, I think you give that to your best player regardless of who you are. If we're talking who should be the initiator, I'd probably
right. Right.
This is Nikola Vucevic.
Anybody but Vucevic is my answer for that. Literally anybody.
Even when he's got a wide open three.
Just keep the ball out of Nikola Vucevic and Patrick Williams' hands, and you might win some games.
Patrick Williams doesn't get to touch basketballs. Have you watched him when he played?
Yeah, he doesn't touch basketball because
stand in the corner and play defense.
He's like what Mario Trauma
struggles with that sometimes too. I don't know. I think Giddey. I think we did Giddey, White, Levine, Williams, and Vucevic is the lineup I think we did. If Lonzo is. Listen, this is going to be an insult to Giddey. Giddey, at once you were my boy. I still like you. But if Lonzo is 50%, I'm putting Lonzo in over Giddey. All right? If he is 50% of what he used to be. Right?
His defense. If his defense is 50%,
I don't think people realize how bad Giddey's defense was last year.
I will say, you know who Giddey would work really well with as a second unit? Him and Io running that second unit. Io, the dish and the drive and dish, Giddey, I'll find you on the back door. You got two guys who can pass, and there's sometimes I could cut in, dish out to Giddey for a shot.
Giddey will miss it, but
I will wide open.
You could try that for half the season.
Open.
Could be like KCP.
We could try that for a whole season.
No, you can try that for half the season until Io's a Sixer at the deadline, so then it won't matter.
All right, it was a good podcast, guys, but I will. I'll be back next week.
Break we lasted like an hour. Good job to all of us. Listen. The Bulls are in. I don't want to turn this into a whole Bulls conversation.
Yeah, we gotta switch topics.
I'm letting you drive, Jake.
No, you can go for 10 minutes talking about somebody. I just think it'll be interesting because I think the Bulls. We talked about like profiles earlier. They have so many mismatched profiles on their team.
Yes.
Like none of it matches. If I'm going to be honest.
Land of misfit toys.
Kobe and Levine overlap.
What's a team?
What's a team? What is team building? I don't know.
Yeah.
If all that your GM should do, AKME, is go to Spot Rack, look at the Sixers transactions this offseason.
Okay.
That's how you team build. All right.
Oh, I thought you were throwing out something else. You can only have Zach.
I don't want Zach Levine.
You and
Who
everybody else.
does?
The Clippers, man. Clippers. Come soon.
Take them.
Before we move on
Fill
to the
up
next
pop
list,
machines.
there's three guys in the middle, so I think we'll each talk about one of them just so that we can kind of pass through. Ricky, I'll pass it to you first. LaMelo Ball, anything upcoming season, the past season that you want to talk about for him? Because he fell right in the middle of most of our lists.
Like, I don't know. I want to like LaMelo, and I do like LaMelo. Back in his draft, he was the number one pick to me over Ant, which that's kind of aging like milk because Ant's turning into like Michael Jordan's son. And then Wiseman,
let's walk that
which
back a little.
I mean, hey, you put the picture side by side, they match up, Dave. That's all I'm saying. You put the half and half, they match up. The Wiseman one, that's aging like a fine wine at this point, but that's not hard because of who Wiseman is. I don't know. I just I look at LaMelo and I go, you're really good, but can I get more than 36 games? What? 58 games in the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Can I get more? I just want a little bit more.
I think we all agree, right? Like he's a very super uber talented player.
I feel like Anakin. I want more.
Yeah, give me more. I think we all agree he could be in the top 10 if he actually was healthy. Right?
Yeah.
If he actually was healthy in 2 years, he could easily be a top 10 point guard. Dave, I want to pass to you. Cade Cunningham. Thoughts?
I don't know if he's a point guard.
Yes, I agree.
Who's the point guard
playing this
then?
game? How long have we been playing this game with Cade Cunningham? I mean, the problem is his teammates are straight ass. Like, I'm sorry, Soapy, your team sucks. Like, they've sucked for several years now, and guess what? You just signed Tobias Harris. So what does that mean? Like, I don't know what you want from me. Cade Cunningham was good, is still good.
He is still good.
And now I don't know if, but it's where's he going from here? Because last year was arguably like his healthy year. We all talked about it like, hey, this is the first time he's been healthy since high school, really. He took care of everything extra that he needed to. He got all the rest. He had all the surgeries, tweaks, whatever, taken care of, and leading into the season. So should I expect Cade Cunningham to, is he an empty points guy? Is he someone who can actually help this team win games? Because he's got talent, but I don't know what that roster, like clearly they're like, we need people who have played basketball before on this roster now. They went out, they got Fontecchio. I think that was a good pickup at the end of last year. Toby at least has game experience. Like you're bringing in guys who are over the age of 21 because clearly that's a problem on this team. And I don't understand like where the expectation should be for him because I genuinely don't know after, and he signed his extension. So like, is he a point guard? Is he a 2? Is he a 3? How do you best use Cade Cunningham? We haven't answered that question. So the fact that he's in the middle of the pack for these point guard rankings without actually truly having like a defined role or position, I think is giving him a lot of credit for what he's done on an absolutely dog team for the last several years. Did I bury him? Did I bury the Pistons enough?
No, you broke your curse record with 3 curses talking about the Pistons. I think it's honestly impressive.
I was going to say, up to this point, I was thinking in my head a couple times, I'm like, man, Dave's on his best behavior tonight.
Pistons,
I think. I
agree
with
I hope he appreciates that.
I agree with every point you just made about Cade. The last guy I want to touch on is one of my boys, Darius Garland. Had a very, very down about 18 months now. He had some freak injuries, like when he his eye, his mouth was wired shut at one point, like just some crazy stuff that went on. I still think he's uber talented, fantastic player. It'll be interesting with Kenny Atkinson. Dave mentioned the point guard whisperer earlier. If he'll be able to rejuvenate Darius Garland a little bit, because I don't think last year was completely on Garland. You kind of saw the hints of what was going on towards the end of the season. They were starting to fall apart a little bit. Bickerstaff started blaming Jared Allen. Jared Allen didn't want to play because of his ribs. It was a whole issue. So I think it'll be interesting. I think Darius Garland is still super talented. He was apparently going to request a trade, but then nothing happened. So I guess
that weird 2-guard tandem. Like I don't know. They seemed better than DeJounte Murray and Trey, but I don't know that Mitchell and him are like same page moving forward if they found out what that flow looks like.
Yeah, I don't know what the ceiling is of that team. I know Kai in our Discord again. Discord down below again. We mentioned the last video. It's free to join, talk to everybody. Kai is one of our longtime Discord members, and he is always a former Cleveland Cavaliers fan, Kai Ashad, always talking about how small guards can't win together. So I don't know if I totally buy into that. I just think that the system they were used was Donovan Mitchell was so good last year
Mhm.
and the year before. Like, he was fantastic. I'll be interested to see how Darius Garland rebounds and how he moves forward because I still think there's a lot of talent there. He's still super young. And
Mhm.
it'll be interesting to see. So, any final thoughts on 11 through 20 before we move on?
No, I'm good.
Nope.
Dave, you good?
As always, we'd like to thank the people that make these videos possible, our patrons whose names are displayed on the screen now. If you would like to become a patron, go ahead and click the Patreon icon in the bottom right. And if you'd like to check out another video from MVP Sports, hit the video in the upper left. As always, thanks for watching.